Welcome to Weird Games and Weirder People, a podcast about role playing games and the weird, wonderful people behind them.
Hello, wonderful weirdos. This is Diogo Nogueira, and today's guest is Jordan Dube. He's the creator of Goosepoop Games. He creates very accessible games, very whimsical games, and sometimes very philosophical games. But before we get into that, I'd like to remind you to please subscribe to the show wherever you listen to the podcast, leave us a review, tell us what you think, share it with friends, with your enemies, with your gaming group. And if you have any coins left from your life adventure, look on the show notes how you can support us, pay us a coffee, buy one of my games, I don't know, send me money by the mail. I'm just kidding. But help us keep the show flowing. But getting back to Jordan Dube, it was an amazing chat. We talked about his journey from, playing clarinet with a band, making video game compositions, programming, going to the army, doing all this kind of stuff that all informed the way he makes his games. We talked about how community is important, how, self-reflection, how all of these themes helped him make the games that are very, very unique, very interesting, and that can be accessible to all sorts of people, are very easy to pick up. We talk about inspirations, we talk about how other people in the community were so important to get him started, how Brindlewood Bay inspired me to create his game, and everything else that he learned. He tried to give some insights of his journey, the books he learned, the games he played, the music he listened, and everything that shaped the way Goosepoop Games works. It was an amazing chat. I loved it. I learned a bunch of stuff. We laughed a bunch too. I hope you have fun as much as we did. So let's get weird with Jordan Dube. Hi, welcome Jordan Dube. Welcome to Weird Games and Weirder People. I'm so excited to have you here. I've been following your work and excited to talk about gaming, creativity, connection, and mindfulness. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. Yeah, things have been going really good lately. Very busy with all this stuff going on. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, you've been very busy. You've been producing a lot of stuff. I've seen you really spreading, your creativity out there. So, for maybe the wonderful weirdos out there who might not know who Jordan Dube is, who Goosepoop Game is, can you tell us a little bit who you are? What is that you do, and if you can share just a small weird detail about yourself, maybe the way you do coffee or the hats you use or the clothes you wear or anything like this?
Yeah, sure. So I started Goosepoop Games. You can find me at Goosepoop207 on all the socials. I started it. I'm out here in Portland, Maine, in the US, and I kind of made it to focus on like making very lighthearted, accessible games. So getting people into the gaming space. A lot of it includes my very silly artwork and stuff that I made for it. So I just started that the beginning of this year. So, and I got 4 games out already. I got a couple. I
Wow.
make 2 little card pack games. So one's like a simple push your luck, and one is you're matching goose clothing. And then 2 RPGs. We have a solo journaling game. I would love it if you noticed, and that is the you kind
The
of
mindful
write.
one, right?
Yeah, that's the mindful
Yeah,
one. That's the one you kind of write down something you noticed every day, and then you kind of assign that to an attribute on a character, and you create a character over 2 weeks, kind of as a way to reflect on things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then my most recent release was Good Soup, where you play
Mm-hmm.
as little woodland creatures gathering ingredients to make soup. It's GM-less. You just toss on the table and start playing. Instead of dice rolls, you can use actual soup. So that's fun. Um,
Yeah.
And a
Those are
weird
amazing. Did you make those all on 2024, or have you been working on them
yes.
for a while? All
No,
this
I made
year.
yeah, I made them all
Wow.
this year. Yeah, really,
And
really cranked them out.
how did you make this jump of have you been enjoying tabletop gaming and role playing games and this kind of games for a long while and now you're jumping on creating them, or how has been this transition uh
Yeah,
from
so it's
playing
been
to game making?
kind of a journey into it. I really started wanting to work on video games. I started as a musician, so that I guess that was going to be my weird fact is that I play clarinet in a swing band. So that's a lot of fun.
What's a swing band? I
Like
mean, I don't know.
jazz,
Yeah.
people are dancing
Oh, that's
around
so
and stuff.
cool.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So I play clarinet, do a lot of fun art stuff. So I started with clarinet, wanted to get into video game composition, and then got into video game programming
Mm-hmm.
stuff in Unity, and then I moved around a bit. I was in the U.S. Army as a clarinetist full time, so I did that. Got a computer science degree on the side, and then went into UX design and programming. When I moved back to Portland, Maine, I kind of joined and started a board gaming group in Portland called FriendCon, and we just last weekend we had our 5th board game convention and stuff. It's just
Nice.
two full days of playing board games all day, 10 a.m. to
Nice.
10 p.m. Yeah, it's been a lot of
How many
fun.
people go in
We
FriendCon
had
roughly?
70 people, over 70.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's a free event, so it's just open to everybody, and it's really nice to
Yeah,
just
that's great.
bring the community together.
Here in Brazil, like before the pandemic, we had a lot of like monthly meetups, like RPG meetups from neighborhoods, and we do have
Mm.
about 50 in each of them. Like they were
Wow.
monthly, so they were great for you to test your like you're making anything. Go to one of these events and test it on some unsuspecting
Yeah,
players
until
that
something
go.
happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
that's great. Go ahead and then
oh yeah,
the
yeah.
group.
So yeah, we do every Saturday we have like a board game meetup and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We usually have about 30 people that show up there, which
That's
is
good. Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Do
lot of
you
fun.
gather in a store, or where do those meetups
It's
happen?
like it's kind of like the social club that so I'm like me and a couple of the
Mm-hmm.
other like people that run it are members of the social club just so I can open the door to other
Nice,
people.
nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
So it's just this nice
That's great.
open
Yeah,
space. Yeah. Open
that's a great
space
idea, by
with
the
a
way.
bunch
Yeah.
of tables. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like the third space, if you ever heard of that, where people just need like you have work, home, and then another space,
Mm,
and this is turned into like people's third space where they just come, you don't have
yeah,
to pay anything, just hang out and play games, and it's really
that's
nice.
fantastic. Yeah, I wish
Yeah.
we had something like this here. Now I'm thinking, is there social clubs here? We can. I don't know. I'm thinking about this because
Yeah.
I want to play more games, with people on the table instead of online. But it's getting hard to find a space here, and my house is a mess. So yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I've always been one to start meetups and
Yeah,
such. So like before moving here, I was down in Savannah, Georgia, and there's like, oh, there's no game thing there. Well, I guess I'll start one. And then you just
that's
start it.
great. So you
Yeah.
have this. It's kind of a leadership feeling, right? It's I don't have that. I don't start things. I go to things,
Yeah.
but it's start. I try, but I mean, once it's the organization is too much work, right? And then dealing with all these people and I get overwhelmed easily. So
Oh yeah,
uh
it's
yeah,
definitely can be a lot of work
yeah.
because I
But
do all
how
this. Oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
How did you transition to this to creating?
To creating.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I was making the video games for a little bit, and
After
then
no the friend cone, you were still you went to work with video games again or
well, I
no?
did it. I was working in UX design. I was working on
No,
kind
yeah.
of a phone. I was programming basically front end, and I was programming this app where you could scan your room and add furniture into it, and then so I made the whole like shopping cart system
Mm,
and all that. So it was programming, and it was kind of gamey, but it wasn't games. I've always
yeah,
kind of wanted
okay.
to work
Yeah.
on games. Um, and so I thought it would be fun to just kind of like make little card packs, and I really wanted to create like something, like I said, that was accessible for people, because as a person who's hosted a lot of meetups and who's
Yeah.
seen
Money is
like,
an issue. Yeah.
yeah, money is an
Right.
issue, and just like seeing the people that like walk past, um where it's like I have a bunch of board games out, and then just seeing
Yeah.
people like scared off by the board games. I'm like, oh no, it's you
Yeah,
just have
because
to.
they cost a lot, right? Because they
Yeah,
can be scary. Like,
they,
oh yeah, I wanna try this hobby. Wow, it's the $50 for a
yeah,
game and just start and yeah.
but even with the people who like, I think there's just a mental obstacle with people where it's like, oh, I couldn't possibly learn that. That's too complex
Yeah,
for me. And
that's
so
true.
like one of my like when I try to sell it, one of my games is, it's called Big Stretch, and it's just a push your luck game. And it's like all
Mm-hmm.
you have to do is flip over a card. Do you want to flip over a card? No? Okay, then that's it. You either flip over a card or not flip it. That's like, so I'm like trying to make it super easy
Yeah.
for people so they can, it's the level of complexity that people can take. So I'm trying to make games that like
Yeah.
can get
I
people
I think people
into the
can take
board game
more,
space.
but they are afraid, right? I think people
Yeah.
can take more. I these board games that have a little more narrative and have to like Dixit that have to be a little bit creative and people, oh no, I can't do that. I'm not creative. People are, but people just forget that can they have this muscle, this creativity muscle they can flex, right?
Yeah.
And but those games are a great start because they get into the space and they feel a little more comfortable, right? And they can maybe try. Have you seen this happen with your groups? People that show in those meetups, like they start with very simple games and start feeling more comfortable, and then they maybe they try bigger and more complex things, or do you think they people really just stay on those more comfortable games? How do you see this happening?
I think it's here and there for some people. Like I've met people where it's like once they play Catan, they just don't play anything else, kind of thing. And it's like, I mean,
Yeah,
that's fine. I'm not gonna say don't play something that you
yeah.
have fun with, but like
It's
there
like
are so
chess, right?
many. Yeah.
It's can be a lot of complexity. Like I love those games that are really simple to play, but for you to master it can be complex, like Carcassonne or Catan, or
Yeah.
even like small words, like super simple, but the complexity of the combinations of the pieces. I love this kind of game too. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
they're
some move
really
to
good.
more like really convoluted games too, right?
Yeah. Uh, it's definitely like it's certain people where it's like, oh, I want to try a light game, and then they look at Wingspan, and then I'm like, well, just because it has birds doesn't mean it's like a light game kind of
Yeah,
thing. So, but I mean, it's all on what people think they can do, and it's really
yeah.
uh I'm just trying to
But that's
help
nice too, right? They see
Yeah.
something that attracts them. It's complex, but they get motivated to learn because it's something that attracts them in a way,
Yeah.
right? So maybe those complex games have to, yeah, do something cute to attract people to maybe, yeah, I will master this even if I have to try well, do with my kids. Like I take complex game that he likes the aesthetic of it, and then just make it simple. Like I don't know,
Yeah.
like the camo up. Like he likes the camos, they stack each other, but it's betting and like no, we just do like a racing camo game
Oh,
and
nice. Yeah.
without the betting, this kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to like try to teach someone like like a really complex game, but only teach them like one bit at a time.
Oh yeah. I was
Like,
just thinking this, like maybe games should have like levels of oh, begin playing with this level of rules, and
yeah,
after you feel more comfortable, you can like this is the intermediary complexity, and you can add layers of complexity to a game. So that's like a good idea for game design too, right?
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think there's definitely some games I've played where they have like a tutorial kind of level, which I think is can be helpful. But I think the only problem with that is that if you're, it's great if you and the other players are all kind of starting at the same time, but like once you as the person who owns the box like plays it again but has new players, it can be kind of like, all right, well, I guess we'll do the tutorial one and then do the do this easy.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have, this game doesn't have a tutorial, but it has like it ramps up in difficulty, like the crew. It's like this trick taking game, and I was just playing
Mm-hmm.
it last night, and I was telling the people I was playing with, uh, there's like 50 levels where like it gets harder and harder.
Mm-hmm.
But I say it's like I have only gotten past like 12 because it's always new people that I play with. So it's like we have to
Uh-huh.
start at the beginning, otherwise they're not gonna get
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah. This happens a lot, like especially with these board games that have like campaigns, right?
yeah,
Because usually, yeah, usually people who play board games, they play one game and the next time they play another one, right? And RPGs were more used to campaigns and board games, not so
yeah,
much.
that's true.
But even in role playing games, right? 50 adventures, rarely any campaign gets to that, right? Or have you
Mhm.
played? Do regular play role playing games too? I know you have a group for board games. Do people play role
Yeah,
playing
so
games
within
there
that
too?
board games, yeah, we do a monthly RPG one shot kind of stuff. Um, yeah, a
Nice.
lot of our stuff is not D&D focused, so it's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
indie stuff, which I enjoy. Um,
Oh yeah.
I
Oh
always
yeah.
like the indie space.
And how is the reception of the public with this indie stuff? Do they ask, "Oh, do you have D&D?" And say, "Oh no, we
I
don't."
think some people in our chat like say like, "Oh, could we get a D&D game started?" And then people are like, if you want to start one, sure.
Okay.
And then it just
And
kind of
nobody
fizzles.
starts one.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like I don't
Yeah.
know. One of the problems is
Because
like
it's work. Like D&D,
it's a
it's
lot
a
of
role
work.
playing game, and it's for DGM. It's a lot of work. It's the prep is heavy.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's a lot
nobody
of
wants to
prep.
do it.
Nobody wants to do it, and it also just takes up a lot of time. So if it's like,
Yeah.
the nice thing about our monthly like RPG one shot things is like it's done that night. You don't have to like feel
We
committed
don't have
to,
homework. Yeah.
yeah, you don't have homework. Um but yeah, that what really made me fall into RPGs was Brindlewood Bay. That was my kind of
Mm,
game that I was like,
yeah.
wow, I really enjoy this. I don't know, playing an old lady detective is just
Yeah.
resonates with me.
Yeah. It's a fantastic game. I mean, Jason Cordova and then the people from the Gauntlets, they really know what they're doing, right? And yeah,
Yeah,
Bruno Bay. I back the Kickstarter. I have to bug them about the book because I Brazilian mail must have thrown it to the void or something. I
Oh
don't
no.
know. Yeah,
Oh
it just
geez,
happens a
yeah.
lot here. Yeah,
Oh
but
no.
anyway, that's great. That's great. And you got the game, the Brindled Bay. Did you take the game to play at those monthly one shot nights? And
Oh,
you
so the when I first started playing it, I wasn't the one that had the rules. Somebody
okay?
else. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so somebody else was the GM, and she ran it, and it was we just had a lot of fun. Um, we'd even like dive into like the Cthulhu like behind the scenes stuff that can happen. We just
Mm-hmm.
played as old, like just full murder she wrote old ladies. Um, and we played it like consecutively enough for a while where we each had kind of our own little
Oh yeah.
quirks about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So like my character was Cheryl Fitzgerald, and I had a cat named Shamrock, and my kind of uh hobby, because everybody needed a hobby. I was an old
Mm-hmm.
gum collector, so I just would like get packs of playing cards and scrape
Uh-huh.
off old gum onto them and had like a flip book of it. Yeah, I just try to be as wild as possible. And then after a while of playing, we determined that I carry around this cheese wheel that we called kombucha cheese. So like kombucha has like a mother and you feed it, and so
Mm-hmm.
this cheese you like had to feed it to grow more cheese. And so that was probably as Cthulhu as we got
Yeah,
into that.
that's great.
But
And
yeah.
what about that game made you feel, wow, I want to make my own stuff. I want to make my own games and get into these RPGs. The game's about, you do the cards, but about getting into RPG space. What made you, I want to
Yeah,
do this
so
too?
like thinking about that game, kind of it inspired me because when I look at like D&D and some other RPGs, they can get really heavy and like gritty, and there what I saw was just like, oh, there's this species of creature and it has this whole backstory and a bunch of stats, and that
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like both overwhelmed me, and I was like, I don't want newcomers to be like see this first and be overwhelmed, be like, oh, it's probably not for me because I don't understand it. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
I have to
that's
study
the
this. It's
I
too,
had to
yeah,
study
it's too
this.
much.
Yeah, so it's like,
I already have a job. I don't need another one.
yeah, reading, oh, gross, no. But so like with Good Soup, um, I made it. It's kind of loosely based off of the apocalypse system, same as the Brindlewood Bay, but it's just roll a d12 and to kind of like determine. I have it right here. Determine your kind of what ingredients you're searching for, and
Mm-hmm.
who, because every game someone comes by and you make them a soup, and the soup is magical. It can heal any problem that you want.
Mm-hmm.
So you just roll to see what kind of problem you want to get, and that problem kind of like scales the numbers. That's kind of like your the number you're trying to meet.
The
Um,
difficulty kind of thing.
yeah,
Or
kind of difficulty. So
yeah,
like
target number
so
or something. Yeah.
yeah, the target
Okay.
number. Um, so when you collect the number of ingredients you collect, you roll a d12 per each ingredient. And
Mm-hmm.
then you add that number together, and then that's your final score. So that determines how
how well you
if
made the soup.
yeah,
Yeah,
how good the soup was.
that's great.
Um, yeah, but
W-
it's very light, so like really the dice rolling for the setup
Mhm.
is kind of just to kind of get the gears turning with the creativity with with the players, because to me, um I'm like, as a UX designer, I just really like to see how people experience things and
Mhm.
how people like what is their interpretation of it. So the descriptions I have for everything is very minimal. It's to the point where it's like if you didn't like your role, just choose something else. I mean, it's not that big of a deal.
Mhm.
As long as you can tell the story, that's fine. But one of my favorite things is like I come up with like different creature types in the world, but some of them are just like I don't I wrote it down, but I don't know what it is. So like
Yeah, yeah.
one of my favorites is a summer troll. I was like, are they on
Yeah, what is
vacation?
that? Yeah, I
What is
love
a
this.
summer troll?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I just
Because
like
every person who played this or read this will see this differently. So
yeah.
it's almost like every book is unique in a way because every reader is unique. I love that. Great. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of my goal with it, and it just makes each play session different. So like
Mm-hmm.
people interpret it differently every single time. I have like a little map that people explore, and it's been kind of funny where I've done a couple play sessions, and people usually like gravitate to one spot, like always to the start, which is funny to me. But it's like, oh, maybe I just drew it very well.
Yeah.
And but each time they go there, it's with a different character because you roll a
Mm-hmm.
d12 to see what character is there. And there's so the graph is like there's quite a this way
Yeah.
if you could see it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see the
there's
table.
quite a
Yeah.
few. Yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
there's quite like if you roll a number, there's three different options that you could choose from and that stuff.
Yeah.
And but I also said feel free to add your own characters, and so it's it's kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
just
And I
loose.
love there's some books too that say, oh, after you roll a result, just cross it over and write something over it, and kind of
Oh
make
yeah,
people interact with the book. I never had the courage to do that yet, but I'm trying to build the courage to do that with one of my books. Like I do that one of my Dungeon Crawl Classics books because I have tons of them. But I
yeah.
mean,
I
uh,
like that idea.
making games do interact with books is great, right? Uh,
Yeah,
Makes an object and yeah,
and
it's something to explore in game design too, right? I know you like to explore very creative things. That's something I like. I want to ask you too. How will you manage to combine all these things, like very creative things, exploring different ways to do card games, to do RPGs, to do very non-traditional ways, make them accessible, dealing with humor, dealing with mindfulness, with self-reflection. How how did you arrive in mixing all these ingredients in working with games?
wow, yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Look, I mean, this reflects your values. Do you seek this kind of stuff? How do you pursue that in your games and in your life? Like, do you always, because you played clarinet, you're always interesting. I bet you're interested in art, in music, not only in role playing games. Do you read? Do you
Yeah,
know why accessibility? Why are you worried about people being having access to this? Have this you know have this impacted your life somehow? Do you see a lot of people going through difficulties, or see people really wanting to play games not being able to? And humor, do you like comedy? I don't know. We can start slow, but I
yeah,
mean, I
yeah.
think it's a
So
great combination, and I wanted to explore because all this appeal a lot to me. I want to explore how is that to you too? How do you
as
combine? Yeah.
yeah, so Yeah, so there was a point getting into the user experience. I read a lot of interesting books about UX, and so what some of my
Do you recommend
favorites.
some?
Oh yeah, there's definitely some that I recommend. Um, these won't be exactly UX, but it'll be part. So
Mm-hmm.
a couple is writing is designing. That's a really good one, and that's how
What,
you
what
get like writing.
what's that one? Ah,
Writing is
writing. Okay.
does yeah, writing is designing. Um,
Wow.
that one is really great for. I mean, it helps with like my game pitches
I
or
bet.
how figuring out how to explain something in the most concise way, but also have it accessible through like gender and
Mm-hmm.
race and religion and all that as well, and understanding like how other people understand what you're writing. So it's a great book. Another really good book is well, we've talked a little bit about complexities. So there's the Don Norman books. Um, the Design of Everyday Things is always a good
Oh
one.
yeah.
Yeah, and
This is a
then
classic.
yeah, that's a classic. And then one of his other books, Living with Complexity, is
That
that's
no
a good
no.
one.
Living with complexity.
Yeah, so that
Great.
one talks a lot about how like our different complexity thresholds that we have where so that's how I was saying it's like if I can make a game that gets people interested in board games, like a gate it's a gateway game, you know. If I
Yeah,
make a
yeah.
good gateway game that gets people excited and they can just carry it around, it takes like 5 minutes. So like if you're waiting for your food, you just kind of toss out some cards on the table or do something like that. Um, if that gets people excited about games, then hopefully they'll start wanting to pursue like more complex things in games,
Mm-hmm.
like even meteor games or something that satisfies like a very specific like itch that they want or something like
Mm-hmm.
that. um or just have them be excited about games. I mean, there's a whole crew of people that just love splendor, and that's great. It's just a coin. They're just or you're
Mm-hmm.
buying jewels to buy more jewels. I call it shopping the board game. It's just like I like shopping, so I'm gonna buy stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but the same with the the good soup and the RPG and the role playing game space. It's like I want people to be excited about D&D and these heavier complex games, but I would like it them to not be afraid of it and be like, "Oh no, I can't do it." It's like, "Well, just start with a little one and see how you enjoy that." Get like Good Soup is more just role playing and storytelling. So it's like if you can get comfortable with just like talking telling a story, um the way I like to design like start off designing some games is I kind of think of a feeling that I want the players to have, or
Mm-hmm.
like I picture the scenario that the players are in. So with Good Soup, I wanted the feeling of like everybody's sitting down for a potluck or a meal and they're just talking about whatever. They're being creative and
Yeah.
saying like if
Is
you've
that
ever
something that you experience, like have sitting down with people and making food? Do you like soup? This is something that speaks to you in any way? This ritual of cooking with people and friends and loved ones?
Yeah, I really like doing potlucks. That's always a lot of fun. Usually,
Nice.
I get the itching to do a potluck if I want to make. I was like, I really want ham, and I'll just make a whole ham, and then it's like, all right, now I got to invite people to eat this ham so I don't look crazy eating the whole ham. Uh, but
That's great. Yeah.
yeah, but I just I mean, some of the best conversations are like what if conversations, like, oh, what if this happened, like what if that, like what if a
Yeah.
meteor came from the sky and landed, what would we do, would it explode? But
Yeah.
yeah, just so it's like good soup is kind of just that way to like it's um it's a way to just encourage the creativity of like here's a little bits,
Mm-hmm.
like breadcrumbs of oh but what about this little, what about a
Yeah.
summer
Like
troll or
narrative
something like that.
prompts and ideas
Yeah,
that you get to play with them. Like it's really, I've been talking about seeing like rules and games as toys, and it's like that. Like you're providing them with toys for them to play with their creativity and imagination, and just like when we get a toy like an action figure, the play is not ready. We have to get those toys and make something with it, right? And that's kind of role playing games are, right? They are not ready. We get them and we play with them to create something.
yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, no, that's
Uh,
a great point. Yeah.
Jordan, the podcast is called Weird Games and Weirder People, and we're also talking about weird stuff, but we see the weird in kind of a positive way. And, your story, the games you create, uh, they can be seen like the weirds that you want for very different, very unique, very particular. But I always love to ask the guests here to maybe see if they have their own definition of what is weird and how they like to pursue that in their lives, in their work. So would you like to try to tackle that? Like what is weird for you and how do you pursue that in your work, in your life?
So I'm gonna say like my I love humor that, well, I think it's really funny when things are ridiculous or absurd, or like if people I can't think of a exact scenario, but if people are like, oh, they're grumpy about something and it's really like, oh, a bird ate my french fries, like why are you so mad, the bird had a treat. And
Yeah.
so so I just find I I'm just a default very positive person, and I just find it really silly. So absurd, I really like going on the absurdity of things, but I also really like exploring the mundanity of stuff. So like um yeah, like with Big Stretch, it's just a cat waking up and you're getting later and later times on the clock, but the cat's
Mm-hmm.
arms get really long as you put more cards down. So so it's just like something a little bit, it just pushes reality a little bit more in a
Yeah.
quirky way.
The
Um
silly way and the funny and yeah.
yeah.
And I'm writing a game that has a lot to do with comedy now, and I'm already thinking people, oh, this is getting silly, and then I'm writing like I said about, yeah, it's getting silly because, yeah, I know you get upset because it's getting silly because life is already too funny and humorous, so who needs more humor, right? So,
Yeah.
and yeah,
if
it's great.
if
You go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it'd be really interesting to try to write a game that's like um it's funny, but it like is trying really hard not to be funny. It's like either
Yeah, yeah,
sarcastic or it's like, oh, but don't
yeah.
worry about that. Kind of. I was when I said that, I think paranoia kind of has that,
Kinda, yeah. I mean,
where it's yeah.
I'm not trying. It is fun. I'm not making. I'm trying to be funny because it's a game inspired by Terry Pratchett, Discworld, and New Gaming. So
Oh,
it is
yes.
funny with irony and sarcasm and stuff. And talking about like the god of earwax and
Oh, I
saying that
love
humans were created because of earwax because we wanted to use their wax to make candles. but
Right.
they're
Oh,
not
I saw
even
your
useful
post. Yeah.
for that. They're crap. They even their earwax
The
is
worst
crap or
candles.
something like this. Yeah.
Um,
So
that's great. I grew up with hitchhike. I have a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy
yeah,
tattoo, and that's my
yeah.
humor. It just
Yeah,
like the
I love it.
silly
I'm trying
Gary
to build up the
Pratchett is
courage
really
to
good.
do a tattoo, but I'll get there too someday.
Yeah, I, I have two full sleeves, so
Nice, nice.
yeah. Once you get one, you kind of get addicted to them. Um,
Yeah, my wife got two and is planning the third and the fourth already, and I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna do mine someday. I think.
yeah.
You
Um,
mentioned being a very positive person, which I think it's great. It gets a lot of flack nowadays, like that toxic positivity and kind of stuff. But anyway, where did you get that from? I mean, because I've always been very anxious, and I have to make a very conscious effort to stay positive. Uh,
mm,
and I admire people who can, as you said, like something bad happens, but you can look at the good stuff that you have, right? It's a practice that I always try to teach my son that gets into this bad place sometimes. Like we can always see some good part of our lives. We take a lot of things for granted. So
yeah.
how do you stay this positive, and how where did you learn that from? Did you get that from your parents? Did you learn this through, I don't know, philosophy or some friends, or I don't know? How did you
Yes.
get that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't always like a positive person. Um, I've had some things happen in my life, and but at the same time, I was reading some really great books, leadership and self-deception. Um,
Mm.
that one's a really good one. And then Flow by Mihai, Csikszentmihalyi. I don't know how to spell it, but
Okay.
um,
What
eh,
would be self deception? Because it feels
so
like some of like this mantras we repeat to get into a mood, or feeling well, or I don't know, this kind of
yeah,
thing. Oh,
so
I'm enough,
self-deception.
I'm enough, I'm enough. This kind of self doubt things that we repeat to, yeah, to believe in ourselves, because our minds can be
Yeah,
jerks sometimes.
yeah.
It's
A
like
lot of
this.
the self-deception, um, I think it's a little more um on the social awareness side than self reflection.
Mm.
But so self-deception, um I usually have a go-to example. So say me and my roommate both have the job of cleaning my cat's litter box,
Mm-hmm.
and we rotate by weeks or something. Um I see that the litter box needs to be changed, and I have a quick thought to myself that's like, "Oh, I should just change it. It's not my week, but I mean, it's there and I'm right here,
Mm-hmm.
so I might as well change it." But I don't change it. And then so I start justifying why I'm not changing it, and so I'm deceiving myself.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so in my head, I'm like, "Oh, my roommate is lazy. They never get anything done." And so
Yeah.
now I'm just like broiling about like, "Oh, my roommate's terrible," and blah blah blah. And then I
Mm-hmm.
see, and then I see them face to face, and they're like, "Oh, hey, how's it going, Jordan?" And then I'm just brooding in my head. I'm like, "Oh, this is terrible."
Yeah.
And so it's kind of just way
Anxiety. It sounds a lot like anxiety. This.
anxiety. Yeah, but it's like it's the whole leadership and self-deception book is kind of like talking in a way where there's nothing like
Mm-hmm.
no thoughts that are going on in your mind, like no hidden meaning behind what you're saying. And when you talk to someone, there's no kind of judgment that you're preconceived notions. There's no
Mm-hmm.
preconceived notions that you have of the person that you're with.
Yeah.
So I usually say like whatever the person like gives me as their character is how I um understand their character. I don't it's I mean it's a difficult challenge. I don't say I never judge somebody. Um but it's one of those things where
It's
it's like
hard. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, it's hard sometimes. You have to just be like, well, maybe there is like someone bumps
those are
in.
the ideas, right? I mean, a lot of
Yeah,
what we're talking about feels a lot similar to Stoicism, which is something that I read a lot about because of my anxiety. It helps me a lot, and has a
mhm,
lot about this intrusive thoughts saying, "Oh, they're thinking about this," and then this everything is impressions. We react a lot more to the things we think are going on instead of what are really going on, right?
yeah,
And a lot of to do with Stoicism, and it's but they also have the conscience that this is the ideal. Like we always, evaluate and don't take those impressions for granted. We always see what's really going on, mindfulness, but we always have the awareness that we won't be perfect. We won't react to like this all the time, right? And be able to forgive ourselves to, not be perfect because nobody
yeah,
is in a way, right?
yeah. So that was part of my goal with my solo journaling game. I would love it if you noticed, um, because I kind of wanted to use it as a way to kind of teach people that kind of sense of like um what is really happening in the
Mm-hmm.
world, or like just notice like a sound or something that is happening, because
Yeah.
sometimes we can just like kind of float through life sometimes and just
Mm-hmm.
not and just like, oh, everything's blah blah
For
blah,
sure.
and then just spiral. And then but if you just notice something, it's like, oh, that uh person
A
spilled
friend gave
their
me a hug
yeah,
today,
yeah, someone
or
gave me a
something.
hug
Yeah.
today, or someone
Yeah.
opened the door for somebody, something
Yeah.
good. It could be something bad too, but it's just a way of kind of just like kind of
Pay attention what's really going on instead of
yeah, paying
floating in
attention,
your
getting inside
minds.
outside of your head,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
removing yourself from your
True.
thoughts. And so the end of the game, when you have 2 weeks and you kind of complete this character, it's I use it as a way to kind of you put your character through different obstacles in your life,
Mm-hmm.
and you can just have play them how you want. And it's just as a way to kind of view your own that's where the self-reflection comes, where
Mm-hmm.
you're viewing yourself at from an outsider's perspective.
Yeah.
um so it's like
And
how
how did you find those books, those teachings? Did someone offered it to you and saw, or did you search for it? The
um
leadership and self deception and this kind of this search about self care, right? To learn about being
yeah.
positive and how did you arrive at that?
Yeah, so there's like uh well the I took a leadership course while I was down in Savannah doing um
Work
other
thing
stuff. Yeah, I was
or
in
no?
college, and I got my computer science degree while doing my army clarinetist.
Mm-hmm.
And so the leadership course was just like a extracurricular, and it turned out to be like one of my best
Mm.
courses, like one of my most memorable that I took. And it's
That's where you learn
so
about the book.
and so that's where I learned about the book, and then like the four different like the social and self-awareness, and then
Mm.
there's a whole grid to it, and it's escaping me right now, but there's a social and self, and then and then like some awareness, and then like reflection kind of thing. So it's just kind of understanding how much both you affect the world and how the world affects you,
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing, and kind of contemplating that. So that class really helped a lot.
Yeah.
The book is really good. And then I've read Flow, which is also really good. A lot of game people like to talk about like it's the
The flow state.
complexity, yeah, the stakes curve. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that's like the first chapter of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes,
so
yes,
it's like
yes.
you got to read the whole book because it's very good. And it talks about, this is a little bit different than the self-reflection, but it helps with the mindfulness part where it's kind of, it's almost a hyperfixation, but it's just like you get into a flow state when you are doing certain tasks and you're kind of picking it apart and analyzing the different things that you can change about it. So
Mm-hmm.
what I like to do, one activity that I know I'll get into a flow state, is I go rucking. So it's like running or jogging, but I have like a 40-pound vest on me and I go. And so I'm just putting on music and it's kind of like almost an active meditation. And I'm thinking about each step that I take and like how my foot kind of lands on the ground. And then that kind of brings me into like a flow state of like, how can I change it so it's better? And it's just and that kind of like helps you. It's just a more rewarding state of feeling. It's like, oh, it feels like I'm getting stuff done and it feels like I'm accomplishing things. Um yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of helped on things. And there's one quote, well, so when I was trying to get into games and like I was applying to all these video game studios and being really stressed out, getting out of the military can be a really stressful time because you're like, I don't have a job and I don't know what to do. And so there was one quote from this book, The Dispossessed by Ursula Le Guin. It's a sci-fi book. And there was, and what it was no
What's the
time
name of the
is
book? Sorry?
The Dispossessed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's about a person who had to move to a different planet to do his job, kind of thing. But the quote was, no time is wasted, even pain counts. And so it was kind of a heavy quote for me at the time. I was going through some things, and I have that tattooed on my leg. Just even pain counts, kind of. Just a lot of
Yeah.
my tattoos are just like reminders to myself
Oh, yeah.
of like the positivity and like thinking through
Uh,
things.
the two tattoos I want to do to get started. One is that famous Stoic phrase, which is "This too shall pass." No,
Oh,
to
nice.
remind me of this kind of when something's bad or happening, we always get into this. Oh, this is the end. Everything's terrible, but like everything will pass. And even the good stuff, like we get too high of ourselves. Oh, I won an award. I'm the greatest. No, shut up. This too shall pass. Nobody will remember this shit. So,
Yeah.
and the other one is, it's a book called "Put Your Ass Where Your Heart Wants to Be." To remind me, if that's something you want, you gotta, put your ass and do the work. You know,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, I don't know. It's like you, like I want to folks to remind me. Like the other one I want, it's a drawing, would be the illustration by Justin Jones for the House of the Blood King, which is an adventure I wrote. It's very special to me, and it's right. It's what you do. Like we do, you don't tattoo anything. It's your skin. It's permanent. So you have,
Yeah.
right. It means something, right? I don't know. Yeah, that's great. Jordan, do you I always ask here creators about if they have maybe like a role model or a teacher or a mentor, or maybe even if they really weren't the ones to sat down by your side and taught you, but do you observe them from afar or studied their work and you learn it from them? Do you have any kind of role model that you use to maybe model the way you do your work or the way you portray yourself in the scene? Anything like this? And it can be either for role playing games or for writing or for painting or any kind of artist or creator or
Hmm.
person in general.
Hmm. I think it's been tricky because I don't feel like I've ever really had like a role model where it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I want to do the things they're doing in that kind of
Mm-hmm.
way. There was only like one time within a video game like music space where I like met somebody who like was
Mm-hmm.
big in the space. I'm not gonna do names or whatever. But and they were not the nicest to me, and so it's just like
Yeah.
maybe I don't want to be in this space anymore.
Yeah.
Which is
I see.
unfortunate, but and but yeah, it's one of those things where I think I've thought about it sometimes. It's like it's tricky because I don't feel like I have a role model, which is a little disappointing because it's like
It's
I
yeah.
feel
Well, it is what
it
it
can make
is. I
me
mean, yeah.
feel like isolated where it's like, man, I don't think anybody's
Do you feel
doing all these
inspired by
things.
any artist that you think inspires you to try your own way of doing things? I mean, one of these things that I talked about, role model, inspired me. Uh, I don't know if you remember reading when I sent the invite for the podcast. It talks about Pete Holmes, who has a podcast of his own,
Oh, I
and kind
love
of
Pete
it
Holmes.
is a
Yeah.
role model for me. Not only on the podcast, on the way he thinks, he talks, and reflects about stuff, and also Bo Burnham, who is a comedian, has nothing to do with RPGs, but the way he approaches creativity and art and talk about process and how he approaches comedy in very meta way kind of makes want to do the same thing for RPGs. So I never had any contact with them. They never taught me anything directly, but I kind of see them as role models in a way. So that's what
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
meant by this.
I
Like, do
think
you
I
have
know what
anything
you
like
mean.
this?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think uh, the role models I would say, I mean, I'm not really great with names, so it's like it's the books that I listed. Like
Oh yeah.
those are like
Oh
my kind
yeah.
of role models where
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes I feel where
Yeah,
I'm
Austin
like,
Kleon, like the book Still Like an Artist for me, it's
yeah,
basically a manual for how I approach my work.
yeah.
It's almost I almost follow to the letter what Austin Kleon, like the author says, like, oh, this is how you can approach creativity and stuff like this. So, and by the way, uh, I want to ask you after we done this is about creative process. If you have anything like a process of yourself that helps you get to the moods, do you put music? Do you do anything before you sit down to work?
Oh yeah. So I think it's a there's I really enjoy getting I have my creative spaces. So like where I am right now, I'm in my office. I'm not at home actually. I rent a co-working space. So I'm
Oh,
out just earlier today. I was just sitting in the park right outside and just writing in my notebook. So it's kind of like just find the spaces.
do you have a
So
physical notebook that you carry around?
oh yeah, it's right. Just a
Nice.
big notebook. Um, doesn't have to be fancy or expensive, but I
So
do
are you
find
always carrying
good
like a
pens.
bag or something, or because that one doesn't fit in a
Oh,
in the
I carry
pocket,
the. I
right?
can hand carry it. It doesn't fit in the
Okay.
pocket, no. But
Yeah.
it's not too much of a burden to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
carry. But I always found like you got to get a good pen. Find the pen
For
that you
sure.
really
It
like.
makes a big difference. A good
Yeah,
pen.
and then you
Yeah.
can just
Yeah.
scribble. And my notebook's full of doodles
It can be
and
so frustrating.
thoughts.
Like you have this idea in the middle of nowhere. Oh, I gotta note this down, and you get the notebook, and you
Scratch
get the pen, and the pen is not writing. Like fuck, you know?
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
scratching. It's just
yeah,
unsatisfying.
yeah,
But yeah, so I was talking about flow earlier. It's like I just really love finding the ways that kind of trigger that flow.
yeah. I've
So
noticed the author has a book about creativity too, like creativity flow, and I'm like, whoa, I gotta check that out.
yeah,
Yeah,
what is it? The creativity,
the author for
the same
flow.
author. Oh,
Yeah,
really? I'll have to check that
yeah.
out too. Um,
This is. Let me see if I find it here. Uh, creativity, flow, and psychology of discovery and invention. Uh, yeah, I think it was 2009. Well, the flow is 2000 and what? I don't know.
flow.
I
I
don't know
think
if
it's kind of old. Yeah,
2008. So that one is a little bit after, maybe a sequel. I don't know.
yeah. I don't know. Um, but yeah, just finding the right kind of flow space. Um, so like I'm a person that's kind of highly motivated by music, so I'll put on
Hmm.
like music in the background and start working.
What kind
That
of
can
music
be
or do change?
it changes, but what I've been really doing is listening to like it's like chill on Spotify. It's like chill dance or something like that. It's just like a soft kind of. It's like it's dance music, but it's like soft and synthy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
because it has the. It's
The
almost like
rhythm. Yeah.
lo-fi, but like the lo-fi can be slow, and this one's like the
A
BPM
little
is
bit
faster,
more.
so you're kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah. And then it also allows me if I need a dance break, I can just get up and
Oh,
dance
do
and
you do
wiggle
dance
it out.
breaks? That's
Yeah.
nice.
I
Yeah.
don't like I don't like schedule it, but it just kind of like I finish something and it's like, ooh, feel good. All right, and then
Nice.
back to it.
Nice. Yeah. I
That's
should try
just
that because it's people say it trains your brain like good positive response and you get more motivated.
yeah.
That's a good idea. Like finish like yeah, finish this section and celebrate in some way.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
The thing that I'm working on now is because sometimes when you're like us like you're trying to work on creative things, but your brain is like, I don't want to do creative. I don't want to do the creative stuff. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's like if I want this to be like my job and my focus, I have to kind of like push past through
The
just the
resistance.
emotion, yeah, the resistance of like, oh, I'm not really feeling it. It's like, well, I better be feeling it because I have to get something on paper. Something needs
Yeah.
to be created here.
Yeah.
um
That book I said, like the put your ass when your heart wants to be. He actually names this feeling, like the resistance. Like it says you name it because it's
yeah,
easier to fight it when you name it. Yeah, it's hard. Do you feel like this a lot, or sometimes like you have to make this effort to no, I won't sit down and watch Netflix and eat Doritos. I will write. I don't know.
yeah,
I have a hard time, for example, sitting down and playing video games, even though I know that fuck, that's kind of research, right? It's games. But I
yeah,
feel like no, I should be writing, I should be drawing, I should be I don't know. Do you
yeah.
do you feel this?
That's what the it's like a both thing where it's like I the my tattoo where it's like no time is wasted. That goes towards like the
Oh,
like it's okay to enjoy things sometimes. But
no
also on the
time
other
is
hand,
wasted.
yeah, but also on the other hand, it's yeah, I can. sometimes I find myself getting into like habits that I don't like, where I'll have a long day, but I'll still go home and snack in front of the TV or something. So it's one of those things where it's like I want to break that habit, so I just unplug my TV and I don't. And so
Wow.
I don't have any streaming or any kind of it's just YouTube. So it's not like I watch TV too
Yeah.
much anyways. But
Yeah, but YouTube can be
it,
very,
you
very
yeah, you go
addictive.
down a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um so it's just trying to
I'm in a
or
phase. I'm trying to convince my kids to not watch YouTube and watch TV. Like, go watch TV. Don't watch YouTube.
yeah.
Like TV.
Or or
Oh.
doom scrolling, if you ever find yourself when you're
Oh
scrolling too
yeah.
much on the social media,
Yeah.
it's like I gotta just allot the time that I need to
Yeah.
put into this, and then I gotta get away. And
Yeah.
then but it's also like, as a person trying to like do marketing and make it a business, it's
Yeah,
like I
it's
gotta
kind of
be on this.
inevitable for us.
Yeah,
We have to be there. I mean, if there was a
but
way we could put our art and our creations in front of people and interact with them, because even though there is a lot of doom scrolling, there was a lot of interaction and connection. Like we got to talk through Twitter. Like if we weren't there, this
yeah,
wouldn't be happening, right? So
that's true. Yeah,
uh yeah,
but
it's good and bad, but I mean, we have
it's
to
good and
control
bad.
how we are using it and not let this use us, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like yeah, you don't want it to you can have uh kind of got to get the mindset of like it's okay that I'm not doing a marketing push today. I'm just going to look at it. I don't even need to look at it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Yeah.
checking in with myself, where it's like, do I have the mental capacity to really deal with social media today? No. Okay. I'm not, even though I
Yes.
have a business,
That's very
it's like
true. And
I need to also be good to
especially
myself.
weekends, if you can disconnect a little bit during the weekend, because
Yeah.
it's slower anyway, and you have opportunity to maybe go outside,
Yeah.
connect with people, and it's great that we're connecting here. I'm seeing you, but this would be so much better if we were in a studio. We could see each other, like being out. The internet's great. You get to talk to people you would never be able to talk in real life.
Yeah.
But real life, it's what we were made for. Our brains are not wired for this. So yeah, go out and enjoy and
I
yeah,
mean,
and
that's why I kind of fell in love with like board games and RPGs and
yes,
stuff.
yes, yes.
It's like
Like
I just love the social
it's
aspect.
almost an act of rebellion nowadays to sit down at a table, right? And
Yeah.
just look at people and touch them and and they have food there and we're all in the same space,
Yeah.
and it's almost like act of rebellion. I'm not gonna look at screens for 4 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh no, it's great. Yeah.
Hello, wonderful weirdos. This is Diogo Nogueira again, and today I'd like to talk to you about one of my favorite games, a game that I created. And if you listen to the podcast, I love dinosaurs, and it's called Primal Quest. It is a weird stone and sorcery adventure game. It's a NSR game, which is this game that caters to the old school style of play, but has more modern and more cinematic gameplay adapted to our modern sensibilities. It has adventure with dinosaurs, ancient civilizations, spirity, sorcery, aliens, elder gods, and much, much more. It's very pulpy. It has, a complete rule set, a mini hex crawl, an adventure introductory adventure. You can find it at Exalted Funeral, itch.io, Drive-Thru RPG, and your best local game store. And we're releasing more and more stuff for it, so stay tuned and play Primal Quest. So let's get back to the weird with our chat.
What I've also found with the people that like play RPGs versus the people that play board games, like more
Mm,
than one. Um,
yeah.
the RPG people are so social, and they're like, I found them a
Yeah.
lot more friendlier. Where I think it's probably just because like you have to do the storytelling. At least the
Yeah, and
Geos,
RPGs
yeah,
are usually more collaboratively than board games, right?
right,
There's a lot of collaborative board games nowadays, but I mean, traditionally they were more competitive in a way, right? And they were
yeah,
really mostly, if you follow the rules, you don't have to interact with other players that much or talk to them, or there's good games make you interact with them because that's what games are about, right? But there's games that you can just do your thing and try to win, right? And
for sure. Some
RPGs, you can't
bluffs,
play
yeah,
by yourself. You have to be social, and I that's one of the reasons we love it, right? I think it
yeah.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, I just recently joined the TTRPG collective. It's like a Discord. I would suggest
Mm,
you hop on with it. Uh, it's a great group of people. A lot, and it's all people from different aspects of the RPG space. So like
mm-hmm.
there's content creators, so they do a lot of streams and that kind of
YouTube
thing.
podcast stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people from Twitch. Um, and then there's people that are kind of like me, where I'm more just making the game on
Mm-hmm.
that side. Um, and then there's
That's
just people
nice.
who like playing, and I mean
Yeah.
everybody likes playing, so it would be
Yeah.
bad if people didn't
I,
like
I'm
playing.
I'm trying to do Discord, but Discord is so hard, so fast for me. And I feel
Yeah,
like you have to spend a lot of time there to really make a good use of it. Like we have a Discord server for the show. I go there time to time and try to interact, but sometimes I get overwhelmed and then stay like a week without looking at it and I go
yeah,
back. And there's a lot of good stuff there and people sharing. Uh, but I mean, it's a lot, and I get
yeah,
overwhelmed easily. But I'd love to be like, because it's too much. Like it's Twitter, it's Instagram, it's Facebook, it's
yeah.
Discord. It's
I
when I
think
will sit down to write and draw. If I have to be on all those places, I mean, it's
yeah,
yeah,
that's definitely true. Um, I think it's I feel like Discord is just another step of being like a closer connectivity, you
yeah,
know? So like there's Twitter, and then what I've been really kind of using a lot is Threads. That's been going really well for
yeah.
me.
That's what I'm using
Um,
on Word Games and Readers People Discord is threads because it's kind of
yeah,
posts, so it doesn't have this immediacy of chat because that's what like I can't stay 2 hours on Discord
yeah,
chatting. Like I do this because I schedule, right? But otherwise, like I'm always running from place. Feels like I'm running from place to place. And the free time I have, I wanna, I don't know, write or draw or
yeah.
something. Yeah,
Yeah, I think on Discord they have forums, and that helps.
yeah.
That helps a lot.
Though
Where it's just
that's
like
new,
this is a
right?
topic that's new, and you have to
Yeah,
make your Discord a community
yeah.
server. Um,
That's what I did. Yeah,
yeah.
that's
But
great.
I mean, Threads, the social media
Oh yeah,
application.
from
Yeah,
the people
yeah,
from Instagram. Yeah,
yeah,
because Twitter is not Twitter anymore. It's starting to a
yeah.
even
My
worse
Twitter.
hellscape than before.
Yeah, my Twitter's been like, it's never been great. But like, I met you and some like other
Yeah,
great other designers there as well. But then it's just like, where's anybody else? I'm not getting
yeah.
any new
The
people,
the
and then it's
reach
all
has been
bots.
reduced
It,
dramatically. I mean,
yeah,
since that guy took over, it's been rough. But I
yeah.
mean,
So
I don't know where else to go. Like we back then, the RPG community had Google Plus, and that ended, and then a lot went to Twitter, and that kind of ended, in a way.
yeah,
And
it's
now, where do we go? I don't know.
I feel like that's with any of the indie, especially indie gaming spaces, is just like
Yeah.
people use Twitter a lot. Like I used to be a video game journalist, and that's where I get all my what I wanted to review next is just on see devs on my feed. I on
Yeah.
a different Twitter that I have. Um, but um, but yeah, so I started using threads. That's how I got in contact with RPG Collective, and they've been really nice. So, like another group from there, they're called Roll D5, ROLE.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they're going to be streaming Good Soup on April 24th, I believe.
Nice. If
Yeah,
you can send me a link or anything, I can try to put on show notes so people can check it
great.
out.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so they'll be playing April 24th, and it's been really nice. I mean, I had also like play test sessions within that Discord community, and people are just like,
Nice.
"Oh,
Yeah.
this is so fun," and it's just it's a good time. I would just like let people play, and then just kind of turn my mic off and watch people play it, and
Yeah.
it's it's one of those experiences that I just really enjoy because like I said earlier, it's like I really just enjoy observing how people experience things.
Interact with the things
Yeah,
you made,
and
right?
like
Yeah.
what new things do they bring? And
Maybe what they discover that even you didn't know you've created,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah,
I
and
love I
or
love sometimes hearing a review of some stuff that I wrote and say, oh, and he created this and this is inspired by this. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right.
yeah,
I
of
didn't
course this
realize I made
thing.
this. you know?
Or yeah, you like backtrack and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Oh yeah.
definitely inspired by that.
No, because sometimes you make
Yeah,
stuff and you don't even realize. Yeah,
yeah,
like this.
subconscious
And
stuff. Yeah,
yeah, that's
yeah.
great.
But what was interesting, like a previous play session we did was they did the rules, and not I don't want to say wrong, but they didn't follow some rules
Yeah.
where
Mm-hmm.
like in the game it's GM-less, so if you want to do an action, you just pay your action token, and then once
Mm-hmm.
everybody does your action token, you take it back. But they were just kind of it was only three of them, so that's fine. They were just going in a circle, taking the next action. So one was basically so the previous person who took an action was basically the GM storyteller for the next person. And it
Mm-hmm.
worked out great. I mean, I was like, yeah, maybe I should make that a rule next time instead of this pain in action. Um, and then they also did it. There's a thing where you use if you use your favorite utensil, you get to re-roll an outcome or retry an outcome. And they didn't do it. I didn't say anything because I just wanted to see how they handled it, and it was still fine. And so it's one of those things as the designer, you have to be okay with people not playing it correctly or just like see how it works. Good, because like theoretically, you can't be at every table that people play your
Oh
game
yeah.
at. So
Yeah. No. Yeah.
but I just thought it was really interesting to see like people's interpretation of the game. And so
Mm-hmm.
for the Roll D5 stream, I'll be really excited to see how they handle it. I won't be they asked me to play, and part of me is like one, I haven't done that many streams, so it's like I feel like you
yeah.
all of you are a lot more professional in acting and stuff, and I want more other people to play it. So
Yeah. And
um
you also want to see because we learn a lot seeing how people play our games, right? Because we
yeah.
design our games for ourselves in a way, but we aren't the people that are playing out there and seeing how they react or how they interpret and how they experience the game will teach us a lot. Maybe for the next game we make, like maybe we learn something from that experience and oh, maybe the next game I'll try this and see how they interpret. Uh, but I don't see it that bad. I mean, sometimes when people interpret a rule different than what I imagine, for me it's like a slider for people customizing their games. The way we interpret a room is also the way you are fine-tuning that room to the way you imagine the world functioning, the way you imagine the setting, or the
Yeah.
way you want to experience that, right? I don't think it's that bad. Like, oh, people are playing the game different. I mean, it's not a tournament. You're not competing.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
what
as long
happens
as
in your
they're
table?
enjoying it, as
Yeah.
long as they're enjoying it, then yeah, that's fine. Um,
Yeah.
there can be games where like, well, a thing to keep in mind with like players is a lot of the time people will do the not the easiest thing, but they'll do like they'll take the path of least resistance to get ahead in the
Mm-hmm.
game, even the
Yeah.
even if
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like the whole term of grinding, like or like in Pokemon where you're just playing really low level characters to just grind your
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon to higher levels. It's like that's not necessarily fun, um, but the game allows you to do that. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like when you're making a game, you have to figure out how to like kind of avoid those scenarios where people are like just kind of they're playing the game but they're not enjoying the game where it's just like yeah I mean I won I
Do you
guess but
think
yeah
they aren't enjoying the game? Because why would they be doing that if you're not enjoying the
oh
game? Maybe
not fully enjoying maybe I don't know and it's like well there's like
yeah.
because there's a part of us that wants to like win, you know.
Yeah.
I don't
But
know.
maybe that for that player that's the part that he
That
enjoys.
really
So that's
enjoys the grinding aspect.
yeah, I don't know because they wanna feel powerful in a way and they wanna just get through the stuff and I don't know. Because I was some of the people that would like I would just grind and get higher and just
Yeah.
do the things easier because it would get really frustrated uh if I just follow because I would follow the story as it would tell me to do and it would get super difficult and I wouldn't be able to do it. So I thought, yeah, I have to grind to be able to do this stuff and I don't know. Yeah. I
Hmm.
think I love these games that offer like a space of possibility and like
Yeah.
offer goals and then kind of lets the player figure out how he wants to pursue that even though I think it's very important to make the goals clearer because they function as like a north or like a lighthouse in a
Yeah.
tempest so you can navigate you the ocean's free for you to go anywhere you can visit any island but you see this lighthouse so you say oh my goal is there but how do I get there I can go straight I can do those circles I can explore and I like
Yeah.
this have these options too uh,
Yeah.
Jordan, we are almost 1 hour and 20 and talked about a lot of things. And now I want to ask you a little bit more personal questions about maybe weird experiences or weird things you think or believe. So I want to maybe start with something very simple. Uh, are you a religious person? Do you have any kind of spirituality, or do you follow any kind of philosophy that maybe helps you through the difficult moments in your life or figure things out? You talk about positivity a lot. Does this has to do with any of those things, spirituality, religion, or
Hmm.
philosophy?
I'm not a religious or spiritual person. Um, but yeah, there's kind of I don't want to say phrases, but there's kind of like um
Teachings,
yeah, there's kind of
yeah.
like things I tell myself that kind of help me like get out of a funk. Um,
Do you have any examples you would be
um,
comfortable sharing? Or?
yeah, so there's I mean, especially when starting this new venture with this game company, I you can get daunted by like all the all the people and like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
there's these like way more known and famous people that are making these big games and doing that, and I'm making just like this little card game and this little game about soup, and it's just can be kind of overwhelming and daunting, and that's where I kind of just like take a moment and step back and kind of like refocus, kind of more like, I mean, just take a deep breath and kind of think about what are my strengths, um what do I know that I have, not that it's more than other people, like I'm not
Oh
trying
no,
to
yeah.
compare some myself, but I'm just like, what am I good at, um and then uh I mean, I started the company in the city that I love, Portland, Maine, so it's kind of just like I really want my company to be about like community. So and then one of my kind of philosophies is kind of just always the friends are first, and think about people, friends are first, um and so sometimes I think about, it's like, think about the closeness of others, so think about where you are, um because like you see all these people on the internet and they're everywhere and doing all these great things. It's like, well, what, I'm here, so they're now next to me, so I
Mm-hmm.
could just think about the community, think about what I can do,
Locally,
um that
right?
just like, it just helps a little bit next. There's this one, sometimes the way I work is I call it like a sprinkling of things. I do a sprinkle of stuff. I have a bunch of projects, and then I just put
Mm-hmm.
just a couple of little sprinkles on each little project, and at some point it'll be a cake. Um, and
Yeah, yeah.
uh, and I mean, it just helps with like allowing me to focus on something if I don't want to focus on another thing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I I'm kind of a person that kind of works through things by doing things. So
Mm-hmm.
um, I kind of reflect while I'm working on things. Um, I also am a person that my vacation relaxation is working on things. And
Yeah,
so which
I do
can
that
seem
too.
it
I
can
take a
seem
vacation.
extreme to people, but it's like,
Yeah,
I don't know, some of my best my self-care of like
yeah,
enjoyment times is I'll just be reading like a game design book, but I'll be in a park, or like I'll be
yeah.
writing down rules or
That's
whatever, but I'll be in a coffee shop and just kind of
yeah.
enjoying the atmosphere. I'm a very
I
like,
think people say that's the poet's vacation. It's like it's a leisure, but with education, with study, with learning,
yeah,
and growing, and yeah, it's perfect.
yeah,
I can't I can't travel anywhere and not bringing books or
yeah,
notebooks to write or think about something. Yeah,
yeah, I'm
we
very
can't
much,
turn this off, right? It can like you're watching a movie with friends and it's something like, oh, I can use that in a game. Oh, I have to note something, and
yeah,
like it's never off in a way, and that can be good and bad, but
yeah. It's very interesting how some of my games like came out, because it's like I wasn't in like, oh, I'm making a game mode,
yeah.
it's just like I I personally really like font aesthetics, so I like the way
Mm-hmm.
words sound and words feel, like when you say them
Yes.
or you think about them. So like the juxtaposition of words. And so that can lead to kind of like phrases that don't make sense at all in like my writing, because it's like I just wanted to include that word. I just wanted this phrase. It doesn't mean anything or make any sense. But yeah, that's how some of my games came about, where it's like, uh, I don't know if it's good or bad design, but it was like, good soup. Oh, what if you used soup as a mechanic? And how can I use that? And so that's how that kind of good soup came about, because I was just thinking about the meme
Yeah.
about there was like this
It's
chicken.
play in game.
Yeah.
It's play and playing with words. It's great. I'm now realized recently one of the reasons I like writing more in English than in Portuguese is because the English language is more playful. Like you can pick a word and turn that into a verb or into a subject, into a noun or like anything. And then like Portuguese is very regulated. You can't do
Oh,
this.
really?
Like you can't
Yeah.
alter words like this. We have we have an international organization that tries to make all Portuguese language standard through all countries. And like English, like you people, every country writes completely different, talks completely different, and like you make your own rules in a way,
Yeah.
right? And here it's like, no, this is the rules. Everybody must follow them. And yeah.
Yeah. But in Portuguese, can I know in English you could do I do this thing where I make up my own words. Like I make up words based on feeling or whatever. Uh like if I have like a like water dripping down my back, I feel like a trinkle of, so I don't know. I don't think that's a word. I'm making something up right now. But in Portuguese, can you do that? Does that allow you to kind of make up things, or
No,
not really?
it's very hard because like you can get any verb and just make something like a subject or any subject and like to TPK, like it's a verb, and like, TPK is not a verb, and like we TPK'd and last night, something like you can't do that in Portuguese. Like you can't just no, it's
You
not a
can't
verb. You
mash.
can use it as a verb. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you can. It doesn't. It because they're very specific rules. Like English, you almost can don't change the verb depending on the subject who's making an action. In Portuguese, each one is completely different, and it's a mess, and it's very hard. And yeah. uh, Jordan, another thing that I like to ask is maybe guests who might have weird experiences with either very states of altered awareness. Have you ever had experience with deep meditation that maybe helped you realize something about yourself, about your world that you didn't know before, or maybe hypnosis or anything like this, or near death experiences, out of body experiences, anything like this that you feel comfortable talking about, or if you
Yeah.
don't, I don't know.
Um. Yeah. So I mean, my kind of big experience. So the kind of the point in my life where like I really got into the kind of reflection. I was taking that leadership course, and I was kind of understanding more. I was getting divorced at the same time. So
Mm,
it was like there was like bad things happening, where
I
I
imagine,
mean,
yeah.
it wasn't like it was just a quiet separation. It's like it was fine, mutual thing, but it was just like it was kind of changed me. um almost like pretty drastically. So like before that I was kind of a closed off person, very brick wall of emotion. Um
Mm-hmm.
and just also not very nice. was I was goofy with the right people, but like not just like
Yeah.
charismatic to everybody that I am today. So um yeah,
Why
so
do you
that
think that? Why do you think it was like that? Do you
well, why do I think it changed?
No, why do you
Or
think you were very close and now you're more open? How do you? Because I feel like that something you're talking about feels very much like me before the pandemic, and I kind of
yeah,
have anxiety crisis. My marriage almost fell apart too. We're really drifting apart, and I was very close, and I was very distant, and
yeah.
made me change, like more open, like you, more positive, and kind of away. And and for me, I have completely a notion that it's very because of my anxiety. I had no idea. I had an anxiety disorder, so I was never present. I always
Yeah.
in my mind in kind of way. So do you have any idea what made you that way, closer or anything like this?
Um yeah, so before things changed, part of it was the relationship itself wasn't that great. I was pretty I guess controlled. Like
Mm-hmm.
they got really jealous all the time and all about that. So um could only have certain friends.
I see. Yeah.
In it you don't really think about that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um and then besides that, I was kind of a person that I was very deterministic on like I'm gonna be a clarinetist and I don't need to really worry about anybody. I need to finish this thing. And so like I just want to finish my degree. So I was just in the practice room 6 to 10 hours a day playing and
Yeah.
not making more friends. Kind of almost burned a lot of bridges just cuz like
The connections, right? That's
yeah, I
you're
just
so much focused right now and value right now.
yeah.
Some things,
So
yeah.
so when things happened, I had this really good friend, um, and I was down in Savannah. He was in Philly, and there were times where we would say like, "Oh, you want to play online some Overwatch or whatever?" And so we go online, and then we just talk for 3 hours and
Mm-hmm.
just talk about things. It was great because I was in that leadership course, and honestly that leadership, it's not about leadership, it's about connecting with people.
Mm-hmm.
They just had to title it something. But and so I was telling him about that and we were figuring things out and it was like a great way to kind of work through things. And yeah, that kind of just slowly changed and I kind of like realized like it's not everything is people's problem. I am also affecting the equation on things. And yeah, it made me really reflect on a lot of stuff. And I'm really thankful for that friend who kind of just he we just chatted like a whole bunch. We would like just talk for 3 hours, and then afterwards we're like, "Oh, do we actually want to play something online?" It would be on Xbox, and and so we would just chat, and like that's where my kind of like philosophy of just like be good to your friends and just like cherish
Mm-hmm.
the friendships where so like because I rented a whole house for this person so they could move down with me and
Mm-hmm.
stay with me and then we divorced and then pandemic happened and then so I was
Wow.
just in this 3-bedroom house alone and I was like this is not good
Yeah.
and but I'm very thankful for like the friends I've made at work, just really great musicians and
Yeah.
people and that's where I got my kind of philosophy is just like just be really good to people and like even just potential friends like I'm
Mm-hmm.
pretty sure um I can take people aback when I'm just because I'm just very friendly where they're like oh I can't like fake situations like oh I can't afford this chocolate bar. It's like, oh, I'll get it for you. It's like, well, you don't have to do that. It's like, I just met you. It's like, oh, whatever. It's just money.
It's
And
just a chocolate bar, right?
yeah, it's
Yeah,
just a chocolate bar.
it's
Um,
just paper that someone
it's
has
like,
a certain
yeah,
value, but but
yeah,
anytime it can be worth nothing. So yeah,
yeah.
get some
It's
chocolate.
it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, don't think too hard. I'm just being a good
Yeah,
person. Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, it goes
And I
back
think
to
that helps other people be good persons too, because that's
yeah,
example. We hear a lot about being good and helping each other, and but hearing is not the same thing as witnessing and seeing someone being good to you and being nice and being kind. It teaches you a lot more than reading and having your parents say, "Oh, you have to be good," and your parents say this and then beat you up and like whatever, right?
yeah,
But if you see someone being good to you and being good to people, you say, "Yeah, I can do that to others too," right?
yeah. And it goes to the whole self-deception thing where it's like just listen to the little sparks in your head where that say oh I should do this thing for that person and then just do it
Yeah.
instead of being like giving yourself reasons to like oh they'd probably think that'd be weird or
Mm-hmm.
something or it's like I don't really know them that
Yeah.
much um
Yeah.
so there can be like that stuff like clocking just the moments that could and then when you do the thing don't expect anything from it you're like oh if
Yeah.
I give them a
Yeah.
chocolate bar
No.
then they'll repay me back
You already
yeah
feel great when they are surprised and they feel grateful and they give you a
yeah
smile. That's already you already got you what you wanted back, I think.
yeah
Much more than money, I would say.
yeah
Uh
but that also
Go
goes
ahead.
to my another part of my personality is I really like to entertain even though I don't I mean this comes from clarinetist but like I like
Mm-hmm.
entertaining it makes me happy inside knowing like if I'm just walking down the street and talking to a friend and we're having a silly conversation, I'll like talk louder so random people around me
Oh
can
yeah.
hear me. so because
Yeah.
it's like just knowing that I might make them smile or just like what are they talking about? um
That's great.
just makes me a little bit happy
That's
inside.
that's a
So
great way of seeing it. Yeah, I never thought about this. That's great.
yeah.
Yeah. Jordan, another thing I ask people here because it is a show about being weird, and that's sometimes what I'm about to ask. It can be really weird, and for some people, but have you ever had any experience with mal perception awareness altering substance, like mushrooms or psychedelics or anything that made you have a weird experience and see things different? And can you share if you had any experience with this and what was it?
Yeah. Well, there is a reason why I have a whole sleeve of mushroom tattoos.
Oh
So,
yeah.
um, I actually have a lot of mushroom themed things. I have a fanny pack that's all mushrooms as well. Um, but yeah, I'm not a person that does it
Do you think
a
that
lot.
has any relationship? Because I want to ask something. Do you think that's these things like mushroom psychedelics have any relation with this positivity and this mind uh altering things, the deception things, and help you figure out reflection stuff, or
Yeah,
how
so
do you
I
see
think
them?
from the um most recent experience, it was it was a bad trip, unfortunately, because
Oh.
it triggered my nausea. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like I couldn't move because I was just so nauseous.
uh,
But reflecting on it, there was this, I guess, phenomenon. I don't know how to exactly explain it, but I don't think I've ever explained it to somebody yet. But it was just kind of like the observation of like I kind of in well with that, or like I've also taken LSD as well. I've gotten this some realizations where it's like, isn't it kind of crazy how we all have our own thoughts and they're in our heads, and all my thoughts are completely different than your thoughts. And it's just I just like enjoyed that kind of
yeah.
the contemplating that is like, isn't it, it's almost magical how it's like we're
Yeah.
all
It's
different.
almost we are all parallel dimensions
Yeah, but we're all
colliding in the
here.
world. Yeah.
Yeah, we're all here, but we're all like completely have our own thoughts in our own head. And so
And
now I
seeing
just,
the world in completely different
yeah,
ways, but it's still
complete,
trying to habitate the same world in a way, right?
yeah, we're
Uh,
all like the way we interact with it is all just
uh,
completely different.
yeah. It's almost as if we all had like this picture frame in front of us that we think it's the world, and everybody's walking around with these frames and not seeing what everybody's seeing,
Yeah,
and bumping each other's, and I don't know. It's
yeah.
weird. It's
And,
certainly weird. And
and
one
then I
one
also think of
oh,
timelines. Like, what's really interesting is like I'm only like we're interacting now, but it's only this point in time. The only person that you've known that you know is your own self. You know, you've been with yourself the longest in kind
yeah,
of way. So you're the only person that where you know kind of everything. Um
yeah,
and so like just meeting a new friend, it's like you don't know their past, present, you know, you're just this is their sliver of time that you're experiencing with them. So I just think it's also really interesting.
yeah.
It's yeah.
And now one of you talked about this crazy idea about thought, and one of the ideas I had in one of the trips was like, I love this phrasing that says like, because it's easier to understand the others and be more empathetic, saying like, if I were them I would be them. You know, if like someone crosses you over the streets and almost hits you with the car, and you get really pissed, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, maybe like they're having emergency, they having pursued their attention, and they
Mhm.
everything was fine. Like nobody got hurt, but you try to understand it more, so you feel less anger too, and really that can be something happens then. It's the saying that if I were them, I would be them, and it was like, yeah, if I were you, I would be you. So it's almost like every single person is like a different version of you from a parallel universe if you were that person, you
Yeah.
know. So it's kind of one of the one of the strips I had this like, oh yeah, this is like as if the world was a multiverse, multiverse of myself in this various person doing these various things, and kind of helps me feel, I don't know, safer and calmer, and knowing that everybody's doing their best, but not necessarily the best is a good thing, but it's what they have, right?
Yeah,
It's all they have.
that's what they know. Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, that's a
uh,
cool idea.
Jordan, we're in the last minute, so I have a few like funny, whimsical questions to get to know you a little bit better. You like humor. You were very creative, so let's do this. Uh,
Okay.
if you could live in any fictional universe, fictional world, where would you choose to live, and who would you be in that universe? And it can be from games, from fiction, from like literature, movies, comics,
Ooh,
anything.
that's really good. I think I would probably have to. It's either. I mean, Discworld is great.
Mm.
That would be really fun. Um, or I mean, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy universe. That would be a lot of fun to live in. Um, just like exploring, just being able to explore. I think, I think, I think it's not even having like, if the Earth was still here, like if they didn't destroy it to do the bypass of the space, just having the Hitchhiker's Guide to the like the actual book,
Oh
and
yeah.
just being able to go through it, I think that would just be
Yeah.
that'd be
Well,
great.
that's actually the other questions. Like, if you could take anything from like a fictional world, fictional universe, and make it real in our own world, what would it be and why? And it could be an object, a faction, power, energy source, anything.
Yeah,
What would that be? Would you choose the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
I think it would be either that or like, I don't know exact thing. Probably a teleportation device or something like that, so I could get
Yeah,
around quicker.
like the Star Trek teleport
Yeah,
kind of this.
just
Yeah,
boop somewhere else. That would be nice. Just so
yeah.
I didn't have to, because I usually try to
You don't
ride
have
my
to
bike.
commute, right?
Yeah, I don't have to commute. That'd be great.
But when you're gonna listen to podcasts if you're teleporting everywhere? Like,
Oh,
podcasts would
I
cease to
listen
exist.
to
Nobody would listen to it anymore.
I hand make all my zines, so I'm just cutting paper
Oh
and
yeah,
stapling while listening to
yeah,
podcasts.
yeah, yeah. Uh, Another one is, if you could have any superpower, what superpower would you choose to have, and what would be the first thing you would do with that?
Oh, I always make this one joke where I think it would be really funny to have a supervillain that could turn anything into cake.
Okay,
And so, I mean, I feel like,
Cakemorphosis, a
yeah,
Cakemorphosis
cake
power.
morph, if they could turn into cake. Um, I feel like the bigger the object, the more like strength they need, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't just like touch a building and suddenly it's cake, because I feel like that wouldn't be
Yeah,
logistically fair. Um, but yeah, I think it'd be a
that's
fun
a good one. Yeah.
superpower to have, I guess.
What would be the first thing you would turn into cake?
I feel like this would be um I would
And another
discover it.
very important question: what would happen if you tried to turn cake into cake?
Oh, that is a good question. But I feel like this would be a discovered power. So I'd be like kind of chewing on
Yeah.
my pen, and then suddenly I like bite it
Mm.
off and start eating it. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
um, and then cake and then cake. I feel like that's got to be some kind of
A
paradox,
paradox,
right?
like
Right?
yeah, it's
Like,
a
what is it? The spider into the spider universe where they have just like those black holes that
yeah,
appear. It just turns into that. I feel like.
yeah. Jordan, the last question I have for you is: do you remember the last time you felt really happy and just grateful for being here and being alive and everything? And if you do, can you share when was that and what is that you were doing?
Yeah, so it's been very interesting this year where I've either I've only just started really noticing, but I have been getting like compliments from people that just like people have just been like I have one person who moved from they moved out of Portland into Boston to start a new job and I'm super happy for them. And they messaged me and just said like, "Hey, I just want to say the work you're doing for the board game group FriendCon is just super great and really appreciate all the like way you're making the community and stuff." And I'm like, "Oh geez, I haven't
That's
felt
awesome.
a compliment in a while." And and it's just been, and then I had another friend who's just saying it's like, "Wow, it's just really enjoying all the stuff you're doing with the games and stuff." And I'm like, "Oh man, this has been really
Yeah,
nice."
man, you're
Um,
doing great work, inspiring work, and getting people involved and getting people connecting with other people. And after almost 3 years of pandemic and being isolated, you're doing, as they say, God's work, really. So
yeah,
congratulations.
thanks. Yeah, so it's just little bits of compliments, and then somebody during the most recent was during the board game convention during that weekend, and people had just been like, "Thank you so much for like creating this space for people to come." And
Yeah,
yeah, and it's just been really rewarding in that sense. Even if I don't play any games, like I mean, yeah, I played games, but it
yeah,
was a board game convention. But even if I didn't play any games, like I still just love bring bringing community together and seeing people's like enjoy like a
yeah.
space with each other, and it just it's really nice.
That's fantastic, and then a great feeling and a great uh, reason to be grateful. And Jordan, do you have any last messages for the wonderful readers out there? Maybe where they can find you, and maybe a last piece of advice before we take off.
Yeah, so you can find me on social media at Goosepoop207. Um, you can find all my games at goosepoopgames.com. Uh, yeah, and then there's going to be a play test of Good Soup, a play session, I should say, of Good Soup on the Roll D5 Twitch channel.
On April
Um,
24th, right?
April 24th. And I mean, I'm always around and super friendly, so if you want to reach out for game design thoughts or just chat about games, I am always or just talk about life. I'm
Yeah,
always welcoming to people.
fantastic, Jordan. Thank you so much for being here, so much for the work you're doing, sharing your wisdom. I mean, we had a bunch of great ideas here that I feel like exploring, like the games that have layers of difficulty that you can, put and then let people get into more complex things in a while. We had, ideas of how to explore this stuff, and you have a lot of recommendations. So thank you very much. I think the wonderful readers have a lot to learn from you. So can you take us out saying the catchphrase of the show? Keep it weird, everybody.
Sure. Keep it weird, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Weird Games and Weirder People. If you'd like to keep up with the show, please subscribe to be notified when we release new episodes. If you'd like to support us, please leave a review or head on to code-fi.com/WGNWP. See you next time, and remember, weird is the new wonderful.